Our children have suffered. They don't know who they are, who we are as a nation. That shining city on a hill, how was it built? What is that foundation? Because of the things that have not been done, the annual rate of school shooting incidents has increased. The organized youth gatherings, smash and grab robberies, brawls, property damage, violent, empty souls, behaving like a pack of predatory animals. But here's the thing, they're not animals, they're our children. Those empty souls, that's our fault for not teaching them.
Texas is getting back to fact-based history. They've decided to create a publishing house to publish textbooks. They're going to be gracious enough to sell those to other states that want to use the same kind of curriculum. We should be able to say that our founding fathers got most of our laws, those ideas and concepts from the Bible.
Folks, our kids are ready for the truth. This is where true leaders in the state must step up and act. Welcome everyone to the Patriot Project on Mugwump Media. Thanks for joining us again today, folks. On 4th of July, Independence Day, Kevin.
I like Independence Day.
Me too. And you know what? This is the greatest country in the whole world. I don't care what anybody says. If they're somewhere else, of course they're going to think theirs is best. Ours is definitely best. And we are so blessed by our wonderful Maker. Now, again, we're very passionate about that, as you can tell. And you know, we believe that even though we have many issues that we need to work on, folks, that's not even up for debate. Lots of stuff that needs to be worked on. But one thing that we know is none of those issues are insurmountable, not one of them. As long as we do one thing and do it well. Teaching our kids. We need to be teaching about the foundations of our country. You know, how do we know? We need to learn this beautiful shining city on a hill. What's the foundation? How was it built? How will we keep it beautiful? How will we keep it what it is unless we know and teach the generations? And also teaching about Judeo-Christian values of which this country was formed. And you know, like I was talking to our guest, Angela, before we started, those two go hand in glove. You can't really separate one from the other, for sure. Now, like I said, this one area of change would begin to turn the ship around, folks, I think within a generation. Now today, we're speaking once again with a very smart lady and a good friend, Ms. Angela Romine, who is running for the District 140 Missouri House of Representatives seat. Welcome back again to Mugwump Studio, Angela.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. We're always glad to have you. Now, folks, Angela has some great ideas. She is the Kevin and Wanetta whisperer. I'm just going to tell you. Because the first time we got started talking to her, she knocked me off my chair when she started talking about teaching patriotic history, teaching how things really happen, not embellishing, not going back to the twisted stuff over the last 50 to 100 years. Things have been, the deconstruction of our founding fathers is what has occurred, and it needs to stop. We need to give our kids real history. When she started talking about that, she had me at that point, and because I'm not hearing anybody else talk about it for sure in the state of Missouri. So we were very glad to have her here, and she has said that she wants to champion this if she is elected in the Missouri House of Representatives this November 4th. So vote for her. She's awesome. But Angela, before we have you speak and tell us a little bit about it, I'm going to set the table for you with a few facts and pointers that show very clearly that we need these kinds of ideas and leadership in Missouri. It's a huge need. Now, I've got something here. I love this. This is from the Epic Times. It's an in-depth premium report, and this was just from a couple of weeks ago, actually less than that. It was from June 20th, I believe, by a lady named Miss Janice Heil. It's called, and folks, this is a great piece. If you get a chance, look this one up and read it for yourself. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's lengthy. It gives several events that have been popularly told that it's not necessarily the way that it actually happened. It's wonderful. It opens your eyes to a whole new way of looking at things. And in the very back, it talks about, you know, how they go on and on about how horrible and bigoted the founding fathers were. You know, they were old powdered wig, white-haired people that just don't have anything to do with us, and they were terrible, and they were bigots. I loved the last page of this article because it very clearly laid out how the Founding Fathers, they wanted slavery to be ended. And in order to try to set the stage so that later on it would be, they spoke of a God who was the real boss, not government, and that all men are created equal. I love that. It's wonderful. If you get a chance, again, this article right here gives you a whole new outlook on what the Founding Fathers were really doing and really talking about. And a lot of them were very young, just so you know. Historians set records straight on 5 events that shaped America. Popular beliefs collide with historians' accounts of how the Boston Tea Party, Paul Revere's ride, and the shot heard round the world really played out. Now, this is how she starts it. As America celebrates its 250th birthday, it's prime time for historians such as Professor Jeff Bloodworth to set the record straight. Bloodworth is a professor at Pennsylvania Gannon University, noted that it had become trendy among historians to demythologize the Founding Fathers. Now, what does that mean? Deconstruct, basically, just like they're trying to do with religion. And here's what he said about it. He said, "It's gone too far," he told the Epoch Times. "The achievements of the founders and the founding are obscured by the list of sins that have been produced." Like I said, folks, they were young and they were not perfect, but they were remarkable. And I believe that they were used by God. Many of us sinners can be. Now he thinks, and I do too, that the pendulum is swinging back toward a more balanced, nuanced, and accurate view of the founders and about other aspects of American history. I think it started multiple years ago. A lot of it, TPUSA, you can trace it back. Charlie Kirk going around talking to young kids, young students, other kids seeing him, everybody. I mean, I saw him. 2020 and beyond, I saw him on YouTube. The world was changed whenever he died. Remember all those countries? We Are Charlie Kirk. The revival that is spreading across not just Europe, spreading across the United States, spreading everywhere. This is a beautiful time that I believe has been set aside by God. I'll touch on that again. This is the sweet spot, as I told Miss Angela. I believe that this is the time to be bold and brave and step forward more than we normally would have because, again, that pendulum has swung and we are in the sweet spot. Through his role with Heterodox Academy, a bipartisan group advocating for open inquiry on college campuses, critical thinking, Kevin, go figure. Professor Bloodworth said he sees there's a real pushback against this stuff. Another professor said the very same thing. This gentleman, Stanley Schwartz, a professor at Cedarville University in Ohio, he's obviously a history teacher. You can also tell that he loves his students, the way he talks about them. And I think they love him from what they say. He echoed many of Professor Bloodworth's observations. Here's what he said. When students question how early American history relates to them, he responds that issues the founders faced remained relevant. Those include how to govern well, he said, along with how to relate to foreign powers. Oh my goodness. It's as if we were talking to Gen Z on a college campus right now, right? This very same thing. It's never changed. He says that many students in his classes who expected to be bored in class end up realizing that history speaks to a person, helps you find your roots, find your place in the world, Professor Schwartz said. Anna Vincenzi, a professor at Hillsdale College in Michigan, said learning about America's history fulfills a deeply human need to know the truth about where we came from. That knowledge helps people understand the good things about the history that has brought us here. And also, keep this in mind, folks, the origin of the problems. The origin of the problems. Some state legislatures and governors are waking up to the problems and getting brave enough to fix them. Following a late June vote just a few days ago, Angela and I were talking about this, the Texas State Board of Education officially finalized a sweeping new curriculum standard that adds biblical stories to the required reading lists alongside classic literature like Shakespeare and Dickens. The Bible is literature, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, history and the Bible, whether it's literature or not, are interwoven. What a wonderful way to learn about the Bible. That's how I learned about it when I was 16 years old. A Bible is literature class in my high school in Missouri. And yes, Missouri has had this. In 1963, the Supreme Court ruled that it was okay to teach Bible as literature. I think that we have been like scared birds for so long, raised in a cage, and all of a sudden you open the door to the cage and the bird still sits there shivering, afraid to leave. We have so much freedom. The Supreme Court has given us so much freedom just recently. We just have never claimed it, and it's time. Now, the supporters believe that the teaching is necessary to understand historical and cultural U.S. foundations, and I agree. The mandate will be phased into actual classroom instruction beginning in the 2030-31 school year. Other states that have added reading of the Bible to their curriculum recently, Texas, Utah, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and like I said, Missouri. As a matter of fact, like I said, 1963, Supreme Court ruled that the Bible can be read and taught in public school. And also, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, and Alabama have passed legislation requiring that schools display the Ten Commandments in classrooms. And of course, these laws, unfortunately, are currently on hold or blocked in federal courts. Now, despite the fact that our legal system was inspired and built around the Ten Commandments, you would think that that would be okay, right? Well, just so you know, our own Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe in 2025 opposed efforts to legislatively place displays of the Ten Commandments in every classroom in Missouri. Now, the reason that he gave is that he believes that locally elected school boards, not lawmakers, should make these decisions for their communities. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? But here's the thing. If those small districts, and I bet you there are a bunch of them who would love to have the Ten Commandments in their local classrooms, but in each of those counties, they have a lawyer. The lawyer would immediately slap them down if the school board wanted to do it because they would know that they would be immediately sued by whoever would be lurking out there just waiting for that type of movement. So here's the thing. If he makes these little small districts do this themselves, he would leave them twisting in the wind if they dared to take such a bold step. None of them could afford the lawsuits that would follow. And I'm just going to say this, folks. This is where true leaders in the state must step up and act. Some of them are. Perhaps Mr. Kehoe should too. Now, because some states have not acted, a lot of states, or simply been those scared little birds sitting on the edge of the cage, afraid to act on laws that are already in the books, our children have suffered. They don't know who they are and who we are as a nation. That shining city on a hill that I talked about, how was it built? What is that foundation? Now, again, because of the things that have not been done, our kids, there is so much stuff that's going on in public schools that is bad. The annual rate of school shooting incidents has increased, get this, I looked it up, by 2,000% since 1999. That was the first school shooting I could remember, which was Columbine High School in Colorado. It was horrible. None of us could believe what we were seeing on TV. And 2,000% since then, it was a wake-up call. As far as and this was from the Washington Post, by the way, the baseline, 1999, around the time of the Columbine shooting, the nation averaged roughly 10 incidents per year. That's it. The modern highs, incident numbers skyrocketed in the late 2010s and early 2020s, peaking at 352 incidents in 2023. But here's something very interesting. Even though it's been consistently on the rise, the last 2 years, Numbers recorded are only 233. We're in that sweet spot. 2025 was when that was recorded. And folks, that's not to mention the organized youth gatherings, sometimes hundreds of them, showing up and participating in smash and grab robberies and so-called teen takeovers at malls, commercial hubs, and public venues across the U.S. And of course, they're gathered by social media, featuring brawls, property damage, sometimes bringing sledgehammers and other instruments with them. Now, I remember Glenn Beck talking about this. It's been a few months ago, whenever they had in Washington, D.C., the Navy Yard, I think. I mean, violent. They caught it on camera. And I remember him talking about them, empty souls, behaving like a pack of predatory animals. But here's the thing, they're not animals, they're our children. Those empty souls, that's our fault for not teaching them. But like the gun violence, let me just tell you, there's been a slight downturn in the number of incidents over the last couple of years. Folks, our kids are ready for the truth. They're hungry for something real and relevant. K-12 spending in the U.S. is on average over $15,500 per student, which is roughly 38% higher than the international average. Cry me a river, liberals. You think we can't afford to buy new curriculum? That we shouldn't be teaching them this stuff? You know what? Our kids deserve the very best teaching. They need to know what made this the greatest country on earth and how it's relevant to them, and they can be part of it. No excuses. Miss Angela, your ideas are a breath of fresh air. Tell us about them.
Well, it came to me by listening to the wall builders. I was listening to what they were doing in Texas, and I was just floored and excited because they're paving the way. Texas has a different way of passing curriculum. It's going to be harder here in Missouri to do the same thing, but Texas is getting back to fact-based history. And when you look back and you know, when I listen to the wall builders, actually, sometimes I feel like cheated and I get angry because I wasted all this time in school and didn't really learn what our history really was like. And but they're going to fact-based history, and they have such a high standard with the things they're going to be bringing with the history and the literacy using the Bible in their literature, that they've decided to create a publishing house to publish textbooks so that they can meet their criteria. And they're going to be gracious enough to sell those to other states that want to use the same kind of curriculum. And I actually did an interview with the news leader, and I told them that that was one of the things that I would like to see done. And she said, "Oh, so you're talking about bringing the Bible into the classroom?" And I said, we don't need to really physically bring the Bible into the classroom, but we should be able to say that our founding fathers got most of our laws, those ideas and concepts from the Bible. We don't have to open the Bible to say that. We
Which
can
is
just
legal.
Say exactly.
It's legal since 1963, cultural history.
But even so, but that's why I want to point out, though, that we don't have to bring the physical Bible, because in order to pass it here in Missouri, we actually have to convene educators and have a I think it's called a workshop or workforce or something like that. And they're the ones that will put it together. I can just suggest that we do it this way, to add this to their curriculum, but it's going to be a lot more difficult because we're going to have the educators part of the process. And that's part of the problem is higher education too. So
yes,
because they're the ones teaching the teachers, and that's where a lot of students go and they lose their way, right?
Yes.
We've heard time and time again. Frank Turek actually shares a story about a friend of his. I think he was a Marine, and his daughter went to college, and within 4 weeks, I think she came back and was a liberal and walked away from her faith. And so there's things that we need to do for these kids, and I think that that's one of the major things that we need to do.
Yes, deconstructing. What you're talking about is deconstructing.
Yep.
Absolutely, which is what they've done. to our founding fathers. I love that.
Well, and I think it's even a disservice. So getting back to like even the racism, like when you see the history that's been erased, it really is an injustice. There's been so many Black people that have been so important in our history, and the reason they've been erased is because they were either Republicans or Patriots, right? So they were part of the Revolutionary War.
Oh yeah,
and they're dismissed because we're colonizers, right? And so I think it does such a disservice to just the rich history that we have. And again, every time I listen to the Wall Builders, I'm like, I did not know that. How did I not know that? And it's just detrimental.
absolutely. I will also say I looked up your opponent, Representative Jamie Gregg. This would be his third term. And I looked at his list of accomplishments, and I did not see that. I mean, one of the many mailers that has been sent out, lots of them, with pictures of President Trump, which I thought, drawings of President Trump. So I looked up, was Jamie Gregg endorsed by President Trump? Why, no, he wasn't. So it's a little misleading.
Yes.
And again, I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but those things are that, and the fact that at least two of them I know were, I can't remember the name of it, Children's Federation or something, that was basically based out of, it's a big money outfit out of Dallas, Texas. Here's the thing. Why in the world are we getting big money coming in and getting into our business here in Christian County? And, they don't need to be doing anything. They don't need to be saying yay or nay about our politicians, really, our political people.
I think that's why we even have Amendment 4 on the ballot, is to try to keep outside money coming in. So there's going to be ways around that anyway, but not for initiative petitions, but it'll be for candidates themselves, for sure.
Yep.
And it's sad, too, because the people that endorse you, you end up becoming beholden to them, and you end up sometimes overlooking the benefits that you could, or your constituents, your voters, right? You will overrule what they want in order to placate the people that have supported you, and that's what happens. I think that's one of the other reasons why we have what we have in Jeff City is they get all this PAC money, sometimes local PAC money, but you end up being beholden to them because they're going to be your people that are going to get you reelected, and then the citizens suffer.
Well, and again, and I'm not saying that that's the case, but I'm just saying that's a bad look. Whenever a big money business is coming in and endorsing you and putting out all these nice, big, colorful things and sending it to the voters.
Can I say something about that too?
Sure.
Because I think I got those mailers also, because it talks about school choice and the wonderful things that we're doing with schools. And technically, school choice is a thing for sure, but really it's what's being taught in our schools, because that's where you're going to change hearts and minds and culture, right? Which brings me to, I don't want to share all the details, but I do want to change hearts and minds regarding abortion. And I have a really great idea on how to do that. But I'm going to keep it close to the heart for now so that people don't work against me before I even get started. But there are House representatives already that are really excited about the idea.
That's wonderful. Yes. That is absolutely wonderful. Very cool. Kevin, do you have any comments on that stuff?
Well, you know what? I'm excited. Education, our history, once we get the kids, once they know who they are and where they came from, it makes a big difference in them.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time with young people, teaching them history and talking to them about it. And I like leaving them and telling them that everybody wants to be us. When we're in our community, everybody wants to be in our community because, and they need to be able to list what because is. In our nation, we have got so many because things. We are the greatest nation that ever was. We are the city on the hill. We are the first successful republic that has been here 250 years. And, I could go on and on and on. I'm not going to for time's sake. But our kids, if we let them know who we are, they're going to be proud, and they're going to be good citizens.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to close with this. You are the one candidate for 140 that is actively talking about bringing back unbiased, real information for our kids.
Absolutely. Well, one more bit of history.
Yes.
The founding father that created public schools, the whole reason he decided to educate our young children, creating the public school, was to teach them morality, because part of the reason our founding fathers picked a republic, it was because it was going to put us into self-governance. And in order to be self-governing, we would have to have high morals. And so just in and of itself, the whole reason public schools even existed was for that very reason, to teach the Bible completely from beginning to end. And getting back to that, I think it's really, really important. And being that my family's from another country, right, Mexico, I think is also a benefit to me, because I have gone to Mexico. I visit family there. It's been a while since I've been over there, but you know, I know that history, and I know this history, and I am just floored how people can't see how beautiful this country is.
Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely agree. All right. Well, Miss Angela, it was wonderful. Thanks for sharing some. I know you're a busy woman. I know you've been out door knocking and doing all kinds of stuff. And thanks for coming in and sharing.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Folks, thanks for joining us again this week. And, you know, I love the vision. Getting back to the real story, the deconstructing of our faith and our history has been very disturbing to Kevin and I. We've been around a long time. And it's amazing some of the stuff that's going around that obviously is not only not flattering to this country, but not true. In Jesus' name, I pray that this wonderful plan can come to pass. And we hope that you all have a wonderful, blessed Independence Day today. Have fun. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Help us to keep that good news flowing. And, you know, we're going to be back again soon with more information, more conversation, hopefully more encouragement to always keep you informed, inspired, and completely independent. God bless.